Rank the albums. These guys. I've seen them referred to as a forgotten band. I don't really use that term because I've not forgotten them. This is the Cooper Temple Claws. I have no excuse for that band name. They have a few excuses. You can file them as post-rock and experimental rock. I think they brought British rock music through to the 21st century and brought, like, a version of exactly what it should be at that point. Really dark and paranoid sounding rock music with techno influences woven into it and several vocalists and just a kind of primal masculinity to it, but without being vapid. This is evident on their debut album called See This Through and Leave. Rocks hard in a kind of debut album way where, it's obvious which ones the singles are. It's still teething a bit and the production isn't quite at the highest level yet. It's a bit swampy with just how doomed it all feels. You better be ready for that. They've not yet discovered all of their strengths, but there's a good amount of strengths on display. This is a very solid debut album. Here it goes. This was followed up with Kick Up the Fire, which typically for a second album brings it together a bit more. This, it feels a bit like a concept album just because it's more cohesive. Again, it's a dark album, but one you can properly bathe in. This is a Dogman Star level follow-up. This is exactly what you want from a follow-up. We've gotten past the more unpleasant, Liam Gallagher sounds, and this is, when I say where British rock should have been in the 2000s, this is a perfect example of where it was if you were listening hard enough. I think in a lot of ways that second album can be filed as prog. It's got that kind of running thread from a 70s, 80s prog album, but unlike old prog, it is by no means a drag. I mean, it's a downer, but it's not a drag. Obviously, that's the best one thus far. I remember some interview with the Cooper Temple Claws, and I know, interviews, you just make up whatever you can in the situation, but they claim to be exploring all the negative emotions in their music, because there are so many negative emotions, and there's a lot to explore there. I think they do particularly well in portraying paranoia and insecurity and just making it into this soundscape. The third and already last album, Make This Your Own. At least they've finally learned how to do an album cover, that's quite nice. This one wasn't as well received, I think the general fan base might address it as something similar to Selling Out, as happened a lot in 2006. Yeah, 2006, with rock bands being told by their labels, we need a hit, and rock bands being like, no, we're rock bands, we don't get hits anymore, and the label saying, make a hit or we'll drop you, so they try and make a hit, and then you've got that version of pop rock from 2006 that didn't actually succeed in the charts, but was kind of designed to. But as I'll divulge probably a lot in this series, I like when rock bands try and be accessible. It's at least a really good diversion to go for. I've already referred to Dogman Star. This could be like Coming Up, which explains why Trash is on the album. You can tell there are different specialties within the band, someone brings hard rock riffs, someone brings kind of sequencing, someone brings sweet harmonies. And on the first album, they're a bit scattered. On the second album, they're pulled together into a beautiful product. On the third album, they kind of make several separate products, various permutations. And they diversified the songwriting quite a lot and really emphasized that they had multiple singers in their midst. I mean, you already heard their voices on the prior albums, but it's very much a paint box where several people contribute their colors. I guess it wasn't that well received because there's a sticker here that shows off a 3-star review. But honestly, I do think it's great. I think there's a very masculine muso version of the fandom that really wanted more of what was on the first two albums. But I think this is a very worthy diversion, impressive songwriting, performance, and production throughout, and it even does have some more of the same. They're showing off what they've learned with vocal harmonies and the different sounds they can make, but they're still immortal hard rock riffs. I think it's not quite the timeless classic that the second album is, but I think it earns just as many listens even through to today. And that's a whole career. You can't last long as a 6-person rock band. Just realised I should have included the pre-album EPs. They'd be at the bottom because they're inessential and the albums are essential. But they'll still impress you with their trademark, lovely, odd song structures from what each member adds to their colleagues' ideas. You can find the members of Cooper Temple Clause in other acts since, but it's several very separate careers. I couldn't really work it into this pile, so this 3 albums episode, and there's the rank.